Jessica Alba and Cash Warren splitting up after like 16 years. It's crazy, right? They always seemed like the perfect Hollywood couple. But as we all know, things aren't always as they seem, huh? Today we're going to do a deep dive into all this, figure out what happened. We've got some interesting articles, one from TMZ, another from The Express. And of course, we'll check out what people are saying on Reddit. Those pop culture and her pop culture chat threads are blowing up right now.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's talking about it for sure. I mean, a typical Hollywood marriage lasts, like 5 years? Seen one last 16 years, and then boom, it's over. Makes you wonder, what actually goes on, behind closed doors and all that.
All right, so let's just lay it all out, the basics. The news came out, yesterday? January 8th, 2025. Jessica and Cash officially separated and looks like they're heading for divorce. Almost 17 years together. 3 kids, Honor, Haven, Hayes. No official reason for the split yet, but the rumor mill, it's churning.
Oh, yeah, rumors everywhere. But the timeline's interesting, too. Like TMZ pointed out, both Jessica and Cash were seen out and about. No wedding rings. Even before Christmas.
Oh, yeah. I saw those pictures. Jessica, no ring in Rome last month, and then again last weekend at a Golden Globes pre-party thing. And Cash, same thing. No ring last week, just out in L.A. last time they were seen together, all the way back on November 10th at that Lakers game.
Wow. Over 2 months ago. No rings, not going out together. Definitely sounds like things weren't so great, maybe for a while.
And here's where things get really interesting. TMZ was talking about Jessica and all her success with The Honest Company. Valued at, get this, $1 billion back in 2014. $1 billion. You got to think that complicates things.
For sure. Especially if there was no prenup, which a lot of sources are saying is the case. No prenup. Then everything from The Honest Company. All Jessica. That's community property. This could be a long, messy divorce. Lawyers picking apart everything, from the very first investments to what the company's worth now.
Whoa. Okay, so what are people online saying about all this? Reddit's going nuts. Some people are totally shocked. Like one comment just said, I did not see this one coming.
Yeah, the shocked reactions, I get it. They've kept things pretty private compared to, other Hollywood couples. But then you've got the other side. People saying they saw this coming, Been tons of comments bringing up all those old rumors about Cash, cheating.
Right, like all that stuff from years ago, blind items and alleged sightings.
Yeah, exactly. Those rumors have been around forever. And you know what they say. Where there's smoke, there's fire. But we got to remember, it's all just rumors at this point. Got to be careful not to, jump to conclusions.
Right, of course. But what's really interesting to me are these comments about them breaking up before. Apparently some people think Jessica and Cash, they split up before. Maybe even before Honor, their daughter, was born.
Huh. That's really interesting. Makes you think maybe things weren't always so perfect, even though they looked good for the cameras. Remember, they started dating in 2004. Honor was born in 2008. That's a long time. If they broke up during those years, this whole sudden separation thing doesn't seem so sudden anymore.
Yeah, like maybe there were cracks in their relationship all along. And it kind of ties into that breakup season thing people are talking about on Reddit. They're saying this split, not surprising at all. It's January. Apparently breakups spike right after the holidays.
Oh, yeah. That's actually a real thing. Studies have shown divorce filings go way up in, January and March.
Really? Why is that?
Well, there are a couple of theories. The holidays, they can be super stressful for couples, especially, if they're already having problems. Being together all the time, family, money stress, it can make things worse.
So basically the holidays, they're like a pressure cooker. All those simmering tensions, they just boil over.
Exactly. And then, the new year.
Yeah.
New beginnings, fresh starts, all that. Makes people reevaluate stuff, maybe make some tough decisions.
Makes you think, maybe the holidays were it for Jessica and Cash. The final straw,
Could be. I mean, we might never know what the trigger was. But it seems like this separation, it wasn't so out of the blue after all.
And you know what else? This one Reddit thread, it's really stuck with me. It's about this rumor that Jessica named Honor her first daughter. Well, because it was an honor to have his baby.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Caused a lot of controversy, didn't it?
Oh, for sure. People are really divided. Some are calling Jessica out, saying it shows insecurity, low self-esteem, that kind of thing. Others are defending her, saying it was probably just a sweet comment, even if it was, kind of awkwardly phrased.
It's definitely a loaded statement. And whether it's true or not, it brings up some bigger issues. We can't ignore history, how women have been seen, their main value is having babies, especially in marriage.
Yeah, it makes you think about power dynamics in relationships, especially in Hollywood where image is everything.
Right, fame and fortune. Doesn't mean you escape those societal pressures. Sometimes it can make them even worse.
Okay, so we've got possible infidelity, problems we don't even know about, and all this societal stuff. But gotta lighten it up a bit. I gotta share some of the funny comments on Reddit, because, well, it's Reddit, right? Apparently half the internet thinks they've got a shot with Jessica Alba now.
Yeah, gotta love the internet, always bringing the laughs.
Yeah.
It's a way to cope, I guess, make jokes when something big like this happens.
And some of them are pretty funny, like the ones about Pete Davidson already on his way.
Oh yeah, the classic Pete Davidson jokes.
But, it's not all jokes and memes. Some people are saying some insightful things, about what a successful relationship really means. One comment said, "We shouldn't think a 17-year marriage is a failure just because it's over." What do you think about that?
That's a really good point. We always think long marriage equals successful marriage, but maybe there's more to it than that. Maybe a successful relationship means both people grow, they change, even if that means they end up going separate ways.
I think that's a good way to look at it. It's not about, like, who wins or loses. It's just that sometimes relationships run their course, and sometimes moving on is the best thing for both people.
Right, exactly. It challenges that old idea that if a marriage ends, it was all for nothing.
Okay, so we talked about what everyone's saying, the timeline, all the rumors, and, like, the bigger picture stuff. But let's not forget the real world stuff, the legal and financial side of this divorce.
Oh yeah, that's where things could get really complicated, especially with the honest company and it being worth, what, $1 billion?
Yeah, $1 billion. So what kind of legal stuff are they going to have to deal with?
Well, first of all, even if they had a prenup, which we still don't know for sure,
Mhm.
those can be challenged.
Yeah.
Lawyers could argue it's not fair anymore or that things have changed a lot since they signed it.
So even with a prenup, it could still be a mess.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially with this much money involved. And if there's no prenup, California is a community property state. Everything they got while they were married, split right down the middle, 50-50.
Whoa, so Jessica's part of the honest company? That's all up in the air?
It could be, yeah. Her lawyers will probably say she built the company, that it was her hard work, her brand, even if cash helped out here and there.
So it's like a legal battle over who gets credit for the company's success.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then there's taxes. Dividing up assets, that can mean a big tax bill, capital gains and all that. It could really shrink what they end up with.
Oh, man, this is getting complicated. I didn't even think about taxes. And on top of all that, they have to figure out, like, custody for their 3 kids.
Right, that's a whole other thing. Legal custody, who makes the decisions,
Yeah.
and physical custody, where the kids live.
I can't even imagine. It must be so hard for them, especially the kids. It's a lot for adults to handle, let alone kids.
Yeah, divorce is never easy. And then add in being famous, having everyone watch. It's got to be tough.
It's like they're living out their personal drama on a public stage. Speaking of which, what do you think about how the media is covering all this?
Oh, it's a frenzy, for sure. Tabloids are going crazy, headlines about why they split, who's going to get what in the divorce, all that.
And then there's social media. Some of it's thoughtful, but a lot of it's just brutal.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, right?
Uh-huh.
People are interested, it's natural, but we got to remember, this is a real family going through something really hard.
Totally agree. It's easy to get caught up in all the gossip, but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
we should try to be understanding, have some respect.
Yeah, well said. It's a good reminder that behind all the headlines, all the rumors, Masana, these are real people with real feelings.
Okay, before we move on, can we go back to that comment about Jessica naming Honor because it was like an honor to have Cash's baby? I know it's just a rumor, but I can't stop thinking about it.
I get it. It's definitely stuck with me too. Even if it isn't true, it says a lot about some deep-rooted problems in society.
Right, like the pressure on women, especially women in the public eye,
Right.
to fit into these traditional roles, these expectations.
It's like it's saying a woman's worth is all about having babies, especially for a man. And that's just wrong.
And it makes you wonder, did Jessica feel that pressure? Even if she didn't realize it, was that part of her relationship with Cash?
It's impossible to know for sure. But it's a good question, especially in Hollywood, where relationships are often unbalanced. One person's way more famous or richer than the other.
You've got a point there. Even if that comment about Honor's name was made up, it shows how these power dynamics can mess things up in any relationship.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that even small power imbalances, they could affect how couples communicate, how they make decisions, and ultimately how the relationship works or doesn't work.
and how those imbalances can lead to a breakup. It's a lot to think about, but it's important if we want to understand what happened here.
I agree. We got to look deeper past the surface stuff. Think about society and how people treat each other in relationships.
So we've covered the legal stuff, the media frenzy, and these power dynamics. What do you think about fame and fortune, how it affects this whole divorce? You think it makes things easier or harder?
That's a great question. And honestly, I don't think there's a simple answer. Fame and fortune, they can shield you from some of life's problems.
Ah,
But they also come with their own unique set of issues.
like what?
Well, think about it. You're constantly in the public eye. The media is always watching. That puts a ton of pressure on a relationship.
Like they're living in a fishbowl, huh? Every move they make, everyone's analyzing it, talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. And that lack of privacy, it can be exhausting, especially when you're already dealing with personal stuff.
And then there's temptation, right? Hollywood's known for parties, for having access to, well, pretty much anything.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. All that temptation, it can really test a relationship, even a strong one.
So fame and fortune, they can create an environment where it's easy to cheat, to lose trust.
It definitely can. But on the other hand, money can also help couples solve their problems.
Like therapy, couples counseling, stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. They can afford the best therapists, retreats, or just take time off work to focus on their relationship. That kind of freedom can be really valuable.
So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Fame and fortune, they can help or hurt a relationship. It just depends on the people and the situation.
That's a good way to put it. It's not about the money or the fame themselves. It's about how those things affect the relationship from the inside.
Which brings us back to the big question. Why did they really split? We can talk about the rumors, the timeline, all the external pressures, but the truth is, we might never know the whole story.
True. And maybe that's okay. Sometimes the best thing we can do is respect their privacy, give them the space to heal and move on.
I totally agree. It's easy to get caught up in all the speculation and drama, but we have to remember, this is a real family going through a tough time.
Well said. It's a good reminder that being understanding and compassionate, it's always better than gossiping and judging.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot. Legal stuff, the media, power dynamics, even how fame and fortune play into it all. What are your main takeaways from all this?
For me, it's that relationships are complicated. There's no one right way to do love and commitment. What works for one couple might not work for another,
Yeah.
and we got to respect that.
I think that's a really good point. It reminds me of something we were talking about earlier, how a relationship ending doesn't have to be a failure. Sometimes it just means people are growing and changing.
Exactly. And maybe that's the biggest lesson here. It's not about judging or blaming. It's about understanding that relationships change. They're fluid.
What about you? What stood out to you the most from this deep dive?
You know, for me, it's remembering that even people who seem to have it all, the fame, the money, the perfect life, they're still human.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, they still get hurt, they have doubts, they feel insecure, just like all of us.
Yeah.
Fame and fortune, they don't make you immune to being human.
Wow, that's really powerful. It's like this whole celebrity breakup thing. It's showing us something about ourselves, reminding us that we're all in this together. We all experience love, loss, heartbreak, all the messy parts of relationships.
That's it, exactly. And maybe that's the most important thing to remember.
Okay, this has been a great conversation, Dag, but I think it's time to wrap things up. Before we go, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about. Knowing what we know now, do you think fame and fortune can really protect a relationship from the problems all couples face?
That's a great question. I hope our listeners will really think about that as they process everything we've talked about today.
I can't wait to hear what they think. And with that, we'll say goodbye for now. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into, all the twists and turns of Jessica Alba and Cash Warren's separation. It's wild, right? We always think celebrities, they live in this different world, like their relationships are somehow immune to normal problems, But this whole thing with Jessica and Cash, it just shows they're dealing with the same stuff we all do, just with everyone watching.
Totally. It's easy to forget they're just people, right? With all the same worries, the same doubts, just like us.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if all those rumors about them are true, The breakups, the infidelity rumors, it's like maybe they were struggling for a long time.
It's definitely possible. And even if some of those rumors weren't true, just having them out there, sure, it probably added a lot of stress, made things harder. It's hard enough dealing with relationship problems without everyone knowing your business.
And that whole thing about the honor comment. Whether it was true or not, it really got people talking about some deeper issues, like how traditional gender roles can still affect relationships, even in Hollywood.
Yeah, for sure. That comment, true or not, it kind of became this symbol of how power can be unbalanced in a relationship,
Yeah.
especially when one person is more famous or has more money.
It makes you think, right? If that kind of dynamic was there in their relationship, did it contribute to the breakup? Was it just too much pressure with all the fame and everything?
Those are really good questions. And honestly, we might never know for sure. But what we can do is learn from this, use this as a chance to look at our own beliefs about relationships, about success, about all the pressures we face.
That's a great point. It's easy to get caught up in the gossip, but maybe there's a bigger lesson here for all of us.
I think so. It makes us think about what a successful relationship really means. Is it about being together forever? Or is it about growing, changing, and finding happiness, even if it means going separate ways?
Yeah, I think it's about defining success on our own terms, not letting society tell us what it should look like or feeling like we have to be perfect for everyone else.
Exactly. And that's something we can all apply to our own lives, not just celebrities. It's about putting ourselves first, making choices that are right for us, not for anyone else.
I love that.
Oh.
So Jessica Alba and Cash Warren's breakup, it might be all over the news.
Yeah.
But the lessons we can learn from it about relationships, about resilience, about how complex people are, those are for everyone.
I couldn't agree more. It reminds us that behind all the glitz and glamour, they're just people trying to figure things out, just like the rest of us.
Well, I think that's a great place to wrap things up. It's been a really interesting conversation, and I hope everyone listening learned something new today.
I know I did. It's always fascinating to dig into these complicated topics, to hear different points of view.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. And remember, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay true to yourselves.